Thank you so much, Genevieve. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back from the break. Today I'm going to talk about CETA, the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement with the EU. It's comprehensive for a reason. 30 chapters, 6,000 pages, so many benefits. So there's a lot to navigate if you're a small business or a medium-sized business. We have 15 minutes together, so my plan today is perhaps cover some of these key benefits that have a direct impact on your day-to-day operations and also could increase your competitiveness over there. We're going to take a look at some of the principles behind CETA, guiding principles in some chapters, and also look at a type of diagnostic we could use for you to be able to pinpoint some areas where you could see CETA affecting your company. Some companies ask me, am I missing out on something? What's my CETA angle? CETA is not negotiated by sector. Most of the time it's negotiated by chapter. So more than one chapter could apply to your company. So I'd like to take a look at the presentation. Not sure if this one can appear. Awesome, there it is. Let's take a look. So we can go to the next slide here. 4 principles, just to look at what free trade agreements do. Here you have a map of the whole network of Canadian free trade agreements. The first principle here is non-discrimination. So, Minister Ng mentioned it today. Ailish, all our presenters basically referred to the fact that CETA helps you be more competitive in EU markets. That could be removing tariffs or obstacles that Canadian companies need to face. That local companies or companies from other markets don't need to face. Think about tariffs, but while EU companies don't need to cover tariffs or pay tariffs, sometimes Canadian companies do. For example, on the other hand, value-added tax in the EU markets is something that everybody needs to pay. So at this point, we try to remove these discriminating aspects to make sure that business flows more freely between our markets. The second aspect is really transparency. So it's one thing, when you have obstacles or like tariffs or regulations, but the other challenge for you exporters is usually to understand, which rules exist in that market that I need to adapt to and I need to understand to make sure my products fit, the bill or my service meet these requirements. And in our free trade agreement, we put these rules public. Every parties commit to make them public and also to notify Canada, if these regulations actually change or could affect our companies. Third point is rule of law. Canada loves the rule of law, notably through the World Trade Organization, and the same thing with our free trade agreement. We believe that for you to compete in a predictable, fair, competitive environment, if you want to have a chance to be able to sell your products and services, all the other parties need to abide by clear rules and make sure that things are fair. So that's the third point. And finally, trade evolves. Comprehensive agreement means that you have chapters like IP now, investment, environment even, which actually reflects the complexity that trade has taken over the years. And so through CETA, we try to anticipate the evolution of trade so that if there are new products or services, and over time, the bridge that we build across the ocean becomes wider and more solid. We can go to the next slide here. So I mentioned so many benefits in CETA, but when it comes to you as a company and you want to understand perhaps if you're missing out on something, or you want to understand perhaps some of the angles that you need to take into consideration when planning and understanding how can you be more competitive. CETA is another tool in the toolbox. It's not everything, but those are key aspects that could be a good start for you to consider. The first one is temporary entry of a business person. So it's kind of rare. It's COVID time right now. It's hard to send your personnel overseas, but it's rare that you can actually have success in a market without visiting or establishing these links in the market. So, installation, repairs, investment, delivering training, things like that. Under CETA, we try to remove the economic needs tests. So this justification you need to present that there's none of these skills are present in the country, allowing someone from Canada to come over. This is country specific, and it's not the same from one country to the other. For goods, well, products we mentioned many times, there were a couple of companies as well who actually leveraged the tariff preference, and also in the videos, that's all tariffs, rules of origin, advanced ruling, certification. This, we have 2 excellent workshops coming up tomorrow, and if you export a good, then you may want to pay attention. Third thing is services. Services are kind of interesting because there's no customs officials at the border watching over the internet at night. And in our free trade agreement, what we try to do is remove or make more transparent any regulations that could discriminate against Canadian service providers. I'll give you an example. In some cases, some regulations may require you to open an office in the market to be able to deliver your service. This is something to keep in mind. So you may be even benefiting from CETA without even knowing if you're a service provider. The other thing is, of course, public procurement. So that's another excellent workshops coming up tomorrow. We'll be going really in details, but it's all about being considered on an equal footing to the EU competitors or competitors from other markets when you place a bid for a public procurement. Unprecedented in the EU, from the EU institution contracts or down to the municipality, provided it's over a certain threshold, parties have committed to recognize Canadian service providers and goods at the same level. Finally, investments. If you're about to invest a couple of millions in a foreign market, what you want to do is really reduce the amount of risk that's associated with this investment. And so that's all about the investment chapter, some guarantees about being able to withdraw your money if you want from the market, conditions about expropriation, compensation, things like that. So there's a lot to uncover, very technical sometimes. You may want to consult a lawyer, some of these qualified contacts, perhaps referred by trade commissioners in the field. Another aspect. All these 5 key aspects are into force right now. So it's been ratified, it's been, it's into place. So this is something you can leverage, since 2017, September. Except one thing, the investment court system under the investment chapter, that's going to come into play when CETA gets ratified by all EU member states. That's only if something happens, but almost everything else is into force. So let's take a look for you to be able to kind of navigate all these aspects. You may wonder, okay, so this is all nice, but what applies to my business? So we can go to the next slide, please. All right, so here it is. I have a business. I am considering an EU market, especially after the wonderful pitches by our senior trade commissioners in Ailish just before. And I want to know, am I missing out on something? Am I missing a CETA angle that could actually help my products or services be more competitive? Here's a little attempt here to be able to bring this diagnostic that could be useful to you. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, what are you exporting? What am I exporting? That's pretty simple, right? Services, is it financial services? There's actually a chapter on financial services. Is it a telecommunication service? All the other services except some air services are covered under the cross-border trade and services chapter. Again, if you're in touch with a trade commissioner, we can help you navigate a little bit. We have experts who have negotiated the agreement. Some of them will be giving workshops right tomorrow and after. Goods, you can, if you export goods, workshops, 2 workshops tomorrow. Very simple. You'll actually speak to the experts directly. And both, we have smart goods sometimes. It's not exclusive. If you export a smart product with software in it, both angles could be present here. Then how do you export? Is it through a person, a staff that has to travel to the market? in your contract with your clients or potential clients in the EU, have you committed to do after sales or repairs to the machinery, for example? This is important because if you commit to that, you need to make sure in advance that you can actually honor this engagement, and there you have the temporary entry angles that could be useful. Just know temporary entry, it's Canadian citizens or permanent residents, so it's on the person, not the company, and it's usually on skilled workers. Okay, so that's another thing. It doesn't replace any immigration procedures or visa requirements. It's really regarding the economic needs test most of the time. Then the other question is, are you the one taking over the shipping process? Not every company actually takes care of them. Sometimes you could actually just pay a shipping, service providers, and it's kind of turnkey solution. You may want to listen to our logistics workshops tomorrow, because you may want to pay a bit closer attention to everything that's behind that, because sometimes you could be missing out on some opportunities. It may sound obvious, but if you're putting money in the market through opening an office or doing a joint venture, that's a significant step, of course, for any business. It's the start of a wonderful adventure, probably. But of course, the investment chapter may be relevant here. And while you or your staff in your company may not understand all these legalistic writing in the investment chapter, it does mean it could mean actually that this could secure your investment and help you sleep at night over all the money you're putting in there. Although I have to say, the EU is as committed as us on rule of law, so investment chapter is always there as an extra layer, but it's an excellent relationship. And the last question is, of course, who are your clients? So if part of your clients are public entities, okay, I'll give you an example. I'm manufacturing playground equipment. My clients are cities. That should let you know that that could be public procurement. So CETA has a really, really big chance that to make you more competitive, and for you to know your rights in a way that if you apply to a call for proposal and you meet the requirements, you should be considered on an equal footing to the local competitors that are applying. And if you're not, then there are recourse under CETA. All parties have committed to have this administrative organ to call to. But again, workshop tomorrow, an hour, much more time to go into details. But I hope this can help you, navigate all these opportunities. And then again, of course, as you can see, all these aspects could actually apply to your company at the same time. So if I'm a water treatment, waste management company, let's say, and I have to send people to train people in Europe, and I'm sending machinery or equipment, so goods, I am actually exporting a software to operate it, and I'm selling to a municipality. Then you'd have all these aspects, except investment, that you would need to consider when you're making your planning. We're going to go to the next slide, please. Awesome. Okay, so last slide here. This is a resource slide. Resources, there's plenty more. And I guess the best way to access our resources is via tradecommission.gc.ca. This has been said already. And also, you do have a CETA website from Global Affairs Canada, canada.ca/CETA. And for government procurement, you do have ted.europa.eu, where all the call for proposals are published and updated every day. A good way to search competitors or potential partners. And of course, there are some videos actually on the Global Affairs website that you can explore very quickly all these key benefits that you have. So I hope that was a good way maybe for you to identify some workshops that could be useful for you throughout our 3-day summit. And keep in mind, more than one aspect of CETA could apply even without knowing, without you knowing about it. So I was really happy to share these 14 minutes with you. Cindy Eve, back to you.